Where are you in Paris? Or?
No, I'm in Ireland actually. I'm in Ireland filming something here, but we're in quarantine before we can film. So
okay.
I'm a week down of quarantine, so I've started to go a little crazy. But
okay. Out of your room, you have to literally stay in the room.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's we're allowed to sort of go out and walk and go and buy shopping and goods and stuff, but other than that, it's pretty sort of isolated. So that's where I'm at.
Oh my God, I know. When is this year going to be over? Well, thank you all for taking your time out of your busy days and schedules and being creative and to talk about The Keeper. This is exciting, and I can't wait for Chris to share his story. We just connected a few days ago, and he's got quite the connection to the movie as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So should we wait for David to join, or
should be with us, or?
So I'm actually here in Atlanta. Well, I live in Atlanta, but I'm now in Charleston for the weekend. So you might see the low country behind us. Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, the low country.
Have you been?
Now there he is. DK might be the David Kross. maybe.
Who knows? Where are you calling from, Marcus?
Hello.
Hi.
David, hallo.
Hi. Hallo Rosi.
Gratulation, du. Wir sehen uns jetzt zum ersten Mal. Also müssen wir mal irgendwann.
Ja, genau.
Gang is all here. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Donna Lefont, founder of the Lefont Film Society and foodfilmmusic.com. And part of foodfilmmusic.com, we started a virtual cinema through all of this, and The Keeper is now playing on our platform, and I'm just so honored to have this time with you all and to share more of the story. And I would like to introduce Chris Green, who has his own personal connection to your story, and it just goes to show the power of movies and how we can reach each other even during these difficult times, staying connected one experience at a time, whether it be through song, music, or food. So I'll hand it over to Chris.
Yeah, so my whole family is actually from Withington, Manchester. And so I'm a fourth generation blue, as we say, City supporter. So I grew up listening to the stories from like my great granddad back when the Ardwick Football Association, Ardwick lads, and then World War I and World War II. And the stories from my great uncle Tom were mostly about post-World War II. And so the Bert Troutman story was his favorite one to talk about, and talking about how he was there and he was watching it. And then the fact that and he called him our Bert, which is what, everybody mentioned our Bert. And he said, he broke his neck and everyone was freaking out. But before the whole FA Cup thing, the fascinating stories that I heard was about the hatred that went towards the man from the fans. And he would talk about how, after World War II, England was already on heavy rations during the war. People were literally starving in Manchester. And then the Blitz happened, and then, there was the constant disaster and the tragedy of war. And then when the war finished, England was heavily rationed again because they were feeding Germany. The Germans were literally starving. And so can you imagine the hostility that went towards a German prisoner of war who's playing for a Manchester club after the Blitz of Manchester, and people have just lost their loved ones in the streets. And then here comes this fella coming on the pitch. And so I used to hear the stories of the hostility, the booing, the death threats, and so on, and then over time, the forgiveness. And I think that is such a really cool story behind who Bert Troutman was, because he led a really tragic life. You just reading up just a little bit about his life, it was just pure tragedy from birth onwards. And, even though he ended up playing, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 500 games for Man City. And there's not many players that ever played that many matches for a football team. So the fact that he stuck around and really took on all that hatred, all that aggression, all that animosity, but still played to the best of his ability, it just makes him an absolute true legend of the club. And so when this movie was made, I was just over the moon, because this was bringing to life my childhood stories, things that I heard about from my family growing up. And now I get to actually watch it on the big screen, and I was just made up. It was brilliant. Hats off to all three of you, because it was just like listening to my Uncle Tom tell the stories, you know?
Thank you very much.
Marcus,
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you so much.
it took a decade for you to make this film, I believe. You ran across the story and you kind of took it on as your own passion to make this come to life. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it was a long way to get the script. This was a little bit my fault because I was shooting other films and I was really thinking about what is the main theme of our film. And so I think I met, I already forgot again, Bernd Trautmann, 2010 or something like this in Valencia. We made a long interview and there were so many experiences and themes that I collected them all, and I wrote a very long script. And then was the next problem was I thought it's a really good script, but it was we were not able to finance it because nobody knew me outside from Bavaria, maybe a few persons in higher Germany, but so we hadn't have enough money, and so it took again a long way that we got it financed with the help also of a co-producer from England, Chris Curling, Sapphire Film. And yeah, so, but one who really was a long time with us, I think 6 years or something like this, is David Kross. He was my first choice for Bernd Trautmann. And so I was happy that he already with the first draft, he said, okay, I want to play this role. And so I was glad that we managed. I was glad that Trautmann also was not the youngest guy. However, I hope you understand what I wanted to say.
So David, what was it like to consider taking on this role of such a heroic man, and just the depths of the themes and the sensitivity to the love-hate, and how you take that on?
Yeah, I very clearly remember meeting the director Rosie. I think it was in 2012 with Robert Marciniak, the producer, and they just told me his story, and I was, first of all, I was very surprised that I haven't heard his name before, that I didn't know anything about this man, and I immediately thought, this is such a good material for a film, and I immediately wanted to be part of it, and of course I was very keen to work with Rosie as a director. I've seen his very, I think it was one of his early, well, I don't know if it was your first film. I don't know what the English title. What's the English title of Wer früher stirbt, ist länger tot?
Greatest Decision.
Great. Okay, yeah, and I've seen that film, and it's a wonderful film, and then I read a lot about Trautmann and his story, and yeah, I really was interested in the development of his character from because he was as a young boy, he grew up in Nazi Germany. He was part of the Hitler Youth. He went through all this indoctrination, and he wanted to become a soldier. It's very important, to know that he was behind this ideology in a way. And then unfortunately, I didn't meet him. I didn't have the chance because he died in 2013. But then I talked a lot with Rosie because he's met him for a week, and he said, he told me a lot about it, and we tried to find the essence from him for the film, and yeah.
Now, did you have to learn to play soccer, or did you already know?
Yeah. I did play when I was younger. I played football, but I was never a goalkeeper. So I had a wonderful goalkeeping coach who taught me all the basic stuff, and then we did a lot of practice. So it just comes natural because he was really, he was really one of the best goalkeepers at the time.
So you had to shift from playing somebody that was in the war to being on the field as an athlete. And that's kind of shifting gears, because the movie comes across as a drama, but there's some comedy in it as well, which it just comes through, I think, in the characters and the lightheartedness on being connected right on the pitch. So it was just so dramatic to see it in extremes of hard times, and then to see you kind of enjoying life again outside of that, even though you had flashbacks coming. I just think you did an incredible job, and there was a tenderness to your character.
Thank you very much. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
About this story either, and I think that's the magic of movies, of always discovering, right? And you just had a really gentle way of how could you not want to like this man? You want to love him at the end, and so.
Yeah, I remember when we shot the film, it was really like two different kinds of jobs. On one hand, there was, you have to be, or to act that you're one of the best goalkeepers at the time and be very athletic. And I had to go to the gym every second day and spend a lot of hours in the gym. And then on the other hand, there was this, dramatic story of this man. But I think it's all due to Rosie that there's so much, also some lightheartedness in the film and some comedic moments, also with John Henshaw, the great actor, and so it was a good combination, and of course working with Freya was amazing, and that brought a lot into the film. So it was a good mixture of people, I think.
Yes, I love the little joke with the cigarette packet. The ongoing joke with the cigarettes, you're just like, oh, here it goes again. And that was
yeah, I think
your character as well. I'll get to it, but I didn't realize you sang one of the songs on the movie until the end. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I
love the movie, and I was, I'm like, music in it is a whole nother thing, the song and the scenes. And it just kind of took me away, that I wanted to go back and rewatch certain scenes so I could really appreciate the music even more. And then I was writing down the lyrics to the Abide With Me song that you sang. And they were just so like stunning. And then I was reading and then it was you. And I'm like, so tell me more about that process of being so connected to a character and then having a song on the movie.
Yeah, it was really interesting actually, because the idea of recording the song was something that happened well after we'd finished shooting, and I was asked to go back to Munich to record that song, and it was really interesting because I remember very distinctly. It was just at a time when I was sort of, I don't know, I had a lot of stuff going on, and I was really tired, and I arrived in Munich, and I arrived at the music supervisor. Well, how would you define, like, it was the music composer, music supervisor, one of Rosie's close friends, who is part of all the music. But he got me to go around to his studio / house, and it was kind of late at night, and so the recording that ended up being in the film, I think, was like recorded at midnight after we'd had a couple of beers. It was a very sort of mad setup where, because it was such like a gorgeous group of people. It was such a great team, and everyone was really close. So yeah, that kind of, I love that that's what ended up being in the film, was this kind of the same intimacy of, the process of making this film. It was something, that we all kind of cared about a lot. And I think, yeah, absolutely. Like the character of Margaret is someone who I immediately was drawn to just for her resilience, her determination, her sense of character and identity. Yeah, so that was a joy to be able to play a character who has a life that's, you know, so outstanding and has such a force of character. Yeah.
Sweet, sweet moments. And there was another song, When the Saints Go Marching In, that I was reading just as the credits were rolling, that was done by the Troutman cast, or explain that to me a little bit more. It was it's a Troutman cast, When the Saints Go Marching In. So who would that have been? The whole cast and crew, or just?
Well, I think maybe we made it in the pub. I think
Yeah, that
we made the recording in the pub.
Okay.
But I want to add one thing to the song that Freya sang, because it was so wonderful. It was by accident that I realized, you know, this song is all about with me is always singing. The spectators always sing it before the FA Cup is still today. Each year with the FA Cup, they sing the song, and the lyric of the song is so much the theme of our film. So it was perfect. And I do not know, Freya, if you know it, but I already had a version of one of my big idols of a British band. And then I realized, no, that's not good. It was good, but it was much better when Freya Margaret sings this song, and also it was 12 o'clock, perhaps 12 as a midnight. Maybe the beer was good. I love it when you sing it. So yeah, and the other songs I think we recorded it in the pub, or I remember after filming I went back to Manchester, and they supported us with the sounds in the stadium. So John Henshaw helped me to find 150, 200 people, and there we also made all these songs in the stadium. Maybe there we also sang this song. I do not know 100%, but this was also great to be with all these fans in the stadium, because these fans that helped us there, you really felt that they still love Bert Troutman. Also it was amazing. They brought me, I don't know how are these books called, where they collected all the newspaper articles, and I got several of them. One gave it to me as a present because he was watching Bert Troutman as a 10 years old boy, and he collected all articles and still loved him, and he had tears in his eyes when he was now part of it, only singing and so on. Was very ergreifend, touching.
So you brought the past to life again. People could live back in the moment.
A little bit. This is something I also forgot sometimes. I have to admit sometimes, because we certainly dramatisierten.
Dramatized? Dramatized, sort of.
Dramatized. Certainly, thank you very much, Freya. Again, dramatized the story and so on. And then suddenly I forgot, oh, this is a real story. But at the premiere in Manchester, suddenly the sister of Bert was standing in front of me, and his other sons, Mark and Robert, I think. And then I really was nervous if they liked the film, and I was very happy that they liked it. You know.
I think that goes back to what Chris was saying. He represents the fan base, and he represents growing up with this story. To have a chance to kind of, it's almost like a fairy tale in a way, come to life. That's who you're connecting with, right? The fans in the stadium, in the moment, and the game. It's called The Beautiful Game for a reason, isn't it?
I would say so, absolutely. I mean, again, you talk about back in the, mid-40s, late 40s, Bert Troutman coming to City, I think it was 49, maybe something like that. Times were tough in England, very tough. And so when you make a movie like this, you're also bringing back a lot of memories. for the older and for the second generation behind that grew up with their mom and dad that lived through the war. I grew up with my great-great-granddad living through the war kind of thing. And so there's a lot of memories, a lot of emotion gets brought up with a movie like this. And so there is the negative side of it, of the war, but the positive side is the beautiful game. It's football. It's something that ties everybody together. And even over here in the US, you know, I started the official Man City supporter club here in Atlanta because we didn't have one. And when I did that, I just started getting flooded with memberships from people that are new supporters that just started following the game. And they, you know, it's different in England, but over here, people support winners. That's the way it always is in America. You support the winner. So there's a lot of new supporters that don't know the history of the club. And so you bring out a movie like this, The Keeper, that gives you the history behind who Manchester City is, what they went through, because there was a lot of negative press around Man City when they signed Bert Troutman. It's almost like, how dare you? You are bringing a traitor to the stadium, or, you know, and there was so much animosity to the club. And so this is great for our younger supporters who don't know the history. They get to learn now. They get to see it, you know, and people love reading books, but people love enjoy and watch movies far more. So to have something visual that you can enjoy the history, I think it's magnificent. And it really does help me over here in the US entice people to come support Man City because of this history that we have.
How many members do you already have?
We were up to 165 members, and we'd only just started in 2016. It was a very quick growth. What really helped is Man City ended up opening up an office in the US up in New York. And they realized that the North American fan base can be something they can really capture, because there is a love for football over here in the States. And so when they launched in New York and they started bringing personnel over, it made it so easy for the club to start sending out memberships and advertising. And back last year, before the kickoff, I arranged this really cool meeting of the southeast of the United States. So that's roughly about 7 states. And I got all of the supporter clubs to come to Atlanta to kick off the season for the first game of the year. And then I reached out to Man City, and they flew in Sean Wright Phillips. They brought all the trophies. They brought personnel from Manchester, and we had this huge kickoff party in this little pub in downtown Atlanta, in little 5 Points called the Brew House. And it was just overwhelming that a club like Manchester City is going to fly all the way to Atlanta and just take care of us. And that really helps me as far as a chairman to promote the club. And then, you know, being I'm a 4th generation blue, I mean, I always say I bleed blue, you know, and so to have Manchester City out here supporting what I'm trying to do was just incredible. I loved every minute of it.
And Chris is very generous. He's reaching out to Man City to see if we can get a jersey that we can raffle off, and the proceeds will benefit one of his local charities that he supports. So while people are supporting the film, we're also going to do a little bit of cause community give back and movies and mission. So I really appreciate Chris's participation with that. We're going to support the Humane Society, which is one of his dear causes. So you're yes.
We're all animal lovers where I work and all my club, and like the Humane Society of Forsyth County is a no-kill shelter. And so I back that because I hate the idea of little dogs and little cats being put down because they don't have a home. That breaks my heart. So to get behind the Humane Society is something I'm really passionate about. So being able to do this and actually have Man City back me and say, yep, whatever you need, we got you, is perfect.
Speaking of animals, I saw there was an animal wrangler on your cast and crew with the shepherd. Can you tell me some animal stories? I mean, funny moments working with, I hear you're not supposed to work with kids or animals. Is that true? They're the most.
Oh, we had a really great actress, a cat, or was it an actor? I do not know exactly. What was the name, Freya, from the cat? I loved the cat. It was playing in my next film also.
The same way?
Yes.
Wait.
The children.
Really?
And it got, how is it called? David, erzähl mir, was ein Staubsauger gleich wieder heißt.
Vacuum cleaner?
Vacuum cleaner. In the next film, it had to get in by accident in the vacuum cleaner with the head. And when he got out, he had a new makeup.
That's terrible.
How was the cat called? It was playing very well with Freya.
Cats ate. Oh my God.
The other animal story was not so easy because it was the sheep story is the sheep were typical British sheep or Irish sheep. We shot in Belfast, and a part of when the sheep run away, it was in the backyard, and this backyard was built in the middle of Munich. And so when John Henshaw was haunting them, he ran the next corner. It was in Belfast. So we had to find exactly the same sheep in Bavaria, but it was not so easy. But I was surprised because the one in Ireland, they were very aggressive. I was really afraid. They were jumping really high, and those in Bavaria were very calm. It was a long casting. The longest casting for all my actors were the sheep in Bavaria.
Sheep herder. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Well, I have to ask, because it's food, film, music related. What were your favorite food items you ate during filming? Like good food memories you have, or drinking in the pub?
There was like, I think the whole sort of joke of the film as well was exactly as you were saying, Chris. Like there was, you know, especially like England was still rationing at that point, and I think it was still like England still rationed until into the 50s. Yeah. Sort of, it was over like a 12-year period or something that rationing was still implemented, which is kind of crazy to think about. But so all the food in the film is like sort of, you know, tinned cheap meat, and sort of there's that, you know, dinner scene where the sort of, you know, mother presents the fancy dinner, and it's kind of like tripe in sort of heavy gloopy sauce. So those were our food. Yeah, that was our kind of our delicacies during filming, was that.
Craft services was a little different.
Absolutely.
But like the music and food you've been enjoying during this pandemic, any new discoveries, or what are you doing to entertain yourself? Like, we have to find different comfort foods now, right? New discoveries. I mean, I don't know, pizza, right? I don't know. Simple pizza means so much now. Popcorn. So I know Chris he also has a spirits company called Legends. Yep. So vodka and bourbon, and yes, a lot of people are drinking these days. So
that's kept me very busy during COVID. So yeah. No, well, I mean, yeah, it's part of the process. When you're making it, you got to drink it. So I mean, that comes hands in hand with it. But no, this whole pandemic, it's forced people to stay home. But then the package stores, the liquor stores, they're all open still, and so people are really drinking a lot. And so, especially when you got a lot of, you know, families with kids at home and they're having to teach them with schooling, I noticed the wine's starting to show up more often. So yeah, so our little distillery here in Cumming, Georgia called Legends, we just started booming. I mean, we were just selling so much, and we had a tremendous growth over a matter of like 4 months, where we just quadrupled the amount of places that we were in and started winning all these cool awards and stuff. I'm like, this is amazing, considering what the country is going through, what the world's going through. We were still able to keep moving forward. So I've not had a minute rest during this whole pandemic thing, where a lot of my friends are all at home and they're enjoying, you know, this like 5 days of nothing. I'm like, I wish I had that. There's just no time. And I know for like you guys with acting, I've got a couple of friends over here that are actors that are part of the whole Walking Dead franchise, and it's been a struggle because you're so used to working all the time, and now you got all this downtime, and it's like, you know, one of my friends, she didn't know what to do with herself. I mean, literally was going stir crazy, not being able to work.
I think the film also, because of the time we're in, it helps us to maybe understand that time period a little bit more because of what we are living through. I don't want to say it's similar, but having that pause in life of something so dramatic and so traumatizing that as a world we have to find a way to heal. And I know, Marcus, part of the theme with this is about reconciliation of truth and forgiveness, right? And I think that's what we are looking for in the world now, is we all need to be a little forgiving and compassionate. And I think that's what this film tried to communicate through the sport, right? Through this story. And no, I'm honored that we're able to share this, because I know the release, it didn't really get a US release, did it? I think it was.
They did something virtual, very, very short amount of time though. And I don't think most people even knew about it. So yeah, it was tough to watch it over here in the States.
So yeah, Marcus, it's just people are discovering this movie for the first time, which is amazing, don't you think? The timing of it?
Timing of it, that it's now released? Or do I, have I understood the question right? As
just the fact of the theatrical release and then now being able to do this virtually, like having a broader audience, like you can maybe reach more people now because they are sitting
because they're okay. This was no wish at all, and I would prefer that they go together into cinema, but yeah, now it is like it is, and maybe they can watch it at home, and maybe so I think also in Germany it was really the streaming was increased very much. So, but for me, as a really fan of cinema, it's breaking my heart a little bit, I have to admit. I love the cinema. I love that people come together and watch it in front on a, so yeah, you know. But it is like it is, and so that's also a good possibility. And yeah.
So what are you working on now? What new project? Or what projects do all three of you have going on during this time?
Or David?
I've been working on a film. Oh God, I don't know the English title of it, but it's a book by Thomas Mann. It's about it's called it's about Felix Krull. I don't know the English title of it, but so we've been shooting that, and that was just at the height of the pandemic in March, and then we had to stop. But we could continue in summer with regular testing and you know, wearing masks and with all the security measures, yeah, and then so I was lucky that we could finish the film and we could make it work somehow.
How did that feel, going back on set in a new environment, a new model of acting and creating?
Well, I was very happy that we could continue, and so that's so I was mostly happy. But of course, it was in the beginning. It was very strange to, even in rehearsals, we had to wear masks, and it was really strange. And so just when we started the camera, we were allowed to take them off, and but you get used to it. It's kind of the new normal now.
Freya, you're in France? No, you're back where? Remind me again. Where are you, Freya?
So I was in France, but I'm now in Ireland because I'm actually I'm doing a French film where the last, well, actually the beginning of the film happens in Ireland. Is set in Ireland. So I've been in France filming, and now I'm in quarantine in Ireland before we can finish the film here. And it's the same, you know, as David. It's very odd. It's at the same time just utterly, I mean, everything's odd now, and there's a whole, you know, adaptation period to getting used to, I don't know, working in new ways. But then also there's just an immense sense of, I don't know, gratitude and relief and joy at actually being able to work and that things are getting made. And, you know, this is I mean, it's typically French. It's a very art house French auteur film, and I'm just so happy that stuff is still getting made. You know, it's not like that. There's still a place for those stories and those directors and yeah, those scripts to exist. So that fills me with joy that something, you know, that's not a Marvel or Avengers franchise is also getting made. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing this past while.
We have to keep the faith and continue to be storytellers in whatever form that takes right now, and then to just have hope, right? Like eventually the big screen will come back to being that amazing experience that we all love, and why we fall in love with movies, right? We become whatever that story is. We want to be on that screen, and it's almost like time travel, right? We get to live different lives. And I just can't thank you enough for taking time out of your extremely busy schedules all over the world to talk with Chris and I, and we'll do the best we can between his audiences and mine to spread the word, and just keep doing what you do, and we can't wait to see you back on the big screen. So
thank you very much for the
invitation. Thank
you very much. Take care.
Ciao, Bye.
Ciao,
Ciao, Dali.
Ciao.